Okay, this video I just want to show you some of the basics on Latex. So just basically how to set up a basic Latex document, and then some things that can make your life a little bit easier. So this is the most basic form that we've got here. Document class article is what I'm using. There are different options here: book, letter, etc. Article seems to be used quite often in academic work, so we'll be sticking to article. And then you need to say begin document to begin the document, and end document to end it, and all of the text that will appear in the actual PDF goes between the begin document and the end document, except for the title, which I'll show you now. And then the space between begin document and document class and begin document is called your preamble. So the space between those two is called preamble, and then begin document, your text, and then end document. So I've already built this, and as always it just shows a simple single page, page number 1, and it says hello world, just sitting there. Okay, so let's first start with some sections and subsections. So I'll just create it here, so we'll call it section, let's say introduction. There we go. And then in here there we go, it's a nice line. So this LaTeX command is quite cool, it typesets LaTeX properly. And then let's also go subsection. This is a subsection, and then we give it a label, and I prefer to stick to sec instead of subsec. So we say this is, let's call this background. Okay, so let's change this title to background. Ground. Okay. Here we will talk about the background, I guess. Background of the document. We will also show how labels work with sections. Okay, and then we can do a subsection. What do we call this? Whatever. Motivation. All right. This is probably the lowest level of sectioning you will realistically need. If you need to go below this, you probably should look at the structuring of your document and see if it's really necessary. But yeah, for now this should cover 99% of your needs: section, subsection, and subsection. Okay, so let me build that. Hopefully nothing breaks. Yes, okay. And then what we've got is exactly what we've written: introduction, background, motivation. And as you can see, each subsection is then given a specific additional point. So 1.1, 1.11. And just for fun, let's add another subsection here. Sure, organization, let's do that. Okay, this is the second subsection. Okay, let's save and build that, and there we go, it goes to 1.2. And if we had a subsection, we'd be 1.2.1, 1.2.2, 0.3, etc. Okay, cool. So we've got a first subsection. And again, all of these subsections know they are 1 point something because they are below this section. If I now introduce another section here, let's call it methods and materials. This is the methods section. We can then build this, and you'll see it then goes and says, okay, number 2. And if I now go and do a subsection, what do we call this? Test setup. This is the test setup we used in the experiments. Okay, come on, man. Sorry. Okay, this is the test setup we use in the experiments. Build that again, and then you'll see it now goes and says 2.1. So because in our document we have section and then subsections, all of the subsequent subsections after a section are numbered with that section, and then as you go down, as soon as we have a new section, all of the subsections and subsections below that get that numbering. Sort of makes sense. Now it does, once you've got a big document with lots of chapters and lots of text and tables and figures and things, it can get a bit cluttered having it all in one document. So what we can do, which is quite powerful, is create new documents in which we will include each of these sections in that document. So on the left hand side here, I'm just going to create a new file, call it sec1.text. There it is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the section number 1 stuff, so all the way up until there. I'm going to put this into the sec1 document. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and then let me also create a new sec2.text and put the section 2 in there as well. Okay, so that's section 1 and section 2 each have their own documents, and now we can see that our sort of main document is basically empty. And then what we do here is we say include, and then we say sec1 and include sec2 prediction, include sec2. Okay, so that's sec1 and sec2 in the begin document. So if I save and run our document, I'm just going to run it twice, we can see that we now have introduction, background, sec1, and it's on this page, and then on the next page we now have the second section. So that works quite nice in being able to keep our main document quite clean, and also to ensure that when we're working on a certain chapter or section, we know that everything included in that section is in the single document, in the single file, and then we just bring them together in the main document. Now, something that's important is that you can refer to sections between different files. It doesn't need to be in the same file. So in section 1 we've got background, and we've got a label here, background, and then in section 2 I'm just going to call this test setup. I'm also going to give it a label, and I'll call that test setup. I prefer to use underscores. Okay, and then what I'll do is in sec1 I will then refer to that. So in this subsection, doesn't matter, here we refer to the test setup in, and then we say section tilde ref sec. I think I copied it. Yeah, test setup. Okay, so this would now be referring to the following chapter, but what we can also do is we can refer to the previous chapters. So if I copy that into section 2, we can then say here we can also refer to previous sections. See, for example, and then we'll say tilde ref, and then we say section background. Okay, and then I'm going to build that. So again, I mention this in every video, but how I build in the terminal here is slightly unconventional. Your what do we call it, editor will most probably have a play button somewhere that you can press play and it'll do all this building automatically for you. I just prefer a little bit more control over it. Okay, so as you can see in section 1 we can refer to section 2.1, and it automatically went and put 2.1, which is the test setup, which is correct. And then in the second section we then refer to section 1.1. In here 1.1 was the background section. So if we look in our PDF, we refer to 1.1, and 1.1 is the background section. So we referred to following chapters, and we've referred back to a previous chapter. Okay, then one final thing that I want to show is how to do, let's say you want to add a title to your document. So Mostly your faculty or department will have a template with a sort of cover page already set up, and then just use that. And it should all be in a template for you somewhere, or if you want to just create a simple document for a piece of homework or a report or something, you can do it like this. So you can say title. Now this goes in the preamble, so that's between the begin document and the document clause. So we call it, that's a good name, how to set up a document. Author you, let me use my name, Philip Luchthart, and then let's put a date here. And a nice thing in Latex is, let's say you want it to be today. Just note, if you run this tomorrow, obviously the day changes, so it'll be basically the day you run it, but for us now that's fine. And then here we can just say make title. Okay, and then if I run that now, hopefully we didn't break anything. There we go. We can see we have how to set up a document by myself on this date. So no lying when I made this video. And then yeah, introduction and methods all in there. And each of these are as a separate file. So you can just keep track of your document. Especially when it's long in terms of like a thesis. And you've got multiple chapters spanning close on 100 pages. It's quite nice to keep all of your documents together. So there's a lot more that we can do in terms of setting up the document, but as for a basic getting start guide, I think this was pretty good to sort of get you along the way on how to do this. Awesome.